went through 1990. I left my career as a television presenter. I left my career in the Green Party. Well, it wasn't really a career. And then in late 1990, I just got this feeling that I had to go to Peru. I had no reason why I should go to Peru, but I had this overwhelming feeling, this intuition that I needed to go to Peru. So I got on a plane to Peru, not knowing why I was going. It was quite bizarre, really, but there was something that said, go with it, go with it, go with it. And I ended up in Peru, and I went around Peru for 3 weeks, and in February 1991. And I had some amazing experiences. And it culminated on a hill overlooking an ancient Inca site called Siyustani, just not that far from Lake Titicaca, Puno, on the banks of Lake Titicaca. And the guide who was taking me around Peru, he booked us into this hotel in Puno called the Siyustani. I had never heard of it. I didn't know anything. I didn't even know, anything to do with booking the hotel. But I walk in the hotel. It's called the Siyustani after this Inca site, and there's pictures of it all over the hotel. So I'm looking at one, and I said to him, I've got to go here tomorrow. I just felt it really strong. I got to go here tomorrow. So we went, and it was February, and I had to get a taxi because there was no buses. Well, a taxi. It was like a little taxi bus. And I went with a Peruvian guide, and I went with the driver, and I went to Siyustani, and it was beautiful. And I walked around, and there were the mountains and a lake, and it was lovely. But after I'd walked around for an hour, my urge to go there was not matched by the experience, lovely as it was. So I'm quite disappointed when I go back to the bus, and I said, I will go home now. So they drive out from Siyustani, and I'm just looking out of the window, daydreaming as I am so often. And I'm looking at this hill, and all I can hear in my head as I'm looking at this hill is, come to me, come to me, come to me. Which was extremely strange for someone who was new to all this at the time. So I said, look, can you stop the bus? I need to go up that hill. And I said, I won't only be 15 minutes or so. Well, I was over an hour because of what happened. And I went up to the top of the hill, and I stood there. There was all stones around. And I looked out back across to Siyustani and the distant mountains. And suddenly what happened in the news shop down the road from here happened again, only with massively greater intensity. I was standing there, and I'm under a cloudless Peruvian sky. I've got a red nose to prove it. And what I started to feel was my feet being pulled to the ground again. And I felt this energy going through the top of my head, through my feet, and coming through my feet to the top of my head, through the top of my head. And then I heard this strong thought form go through my mind again, which said, they will be talking about this 100 years from now. It will be over when you feel the rain. Now, the last sentence seemed utterly ridiculous because I'm under a cloudless Peruvian sky. And then the energy was building up, and my arms went out like that without me making a conscious decision to do it. And this energy started to get more and more powerful to the point where I'm kind of shaking. And I was going in and out of the conscious mind like you do when you drive in a car and you can't remember the last 2 miles. That was happening all the way through this. Mm-hmm. And at one point where I came back to conscious reality, if you like, with my surroundings, I noticed that over the distant mountains, there was a light grey mist. And I thought, it's raining over that mountain. And it was quite a way away. And it got darker, and it was obviously a serious rainstorm had broken out over the distant mountains. And then as I stood there, and I think it lasted, I don't know, time disappeared, maybe 45 minutes, an hour, maybe this was going on. I watched this storm come from the mountains and across towards me, and weather people talk about a front, a weather front. Well, this was a straight line. If you'd have put this in a movie, they'd have said, look, come on, man, far-fetched, you can't, they'll never believe that. But it happened. And this wall of stair rod rain started to come towards me. And eventually it hit me. And I was soaked in an instant because it was so intense. And as the rain hit me, this energy stopped. And now my arms had been like that all that time without any distress. Now my shoulders were agony, and my feet, my legs rather, were like Bambi. And something massive had happened, and I didn't know what. And for the next 3 months, I came back to England, and for the next 3 months, if you'd have asked me my name, I'd have had to have checked. It was like so much information, so many concepts, so many insights were pouring into my conscious mind. It was like pressing too many keys on the computer. The computer says, I can't process this, I'm freezing. Right. And then after about 3 months, it was like zzz. And I was David again. People were saying to me, I thought you'd gone mad, mate. They told me you'd gone mad. Because I went on a TV show and I got massive ridicule. And I went through a period where the level of ridicule of me was historic in its scale and in incessant, daily experience. Oh, that Ike's gone mad. Look at him, he's crazy. But then, and suddenly I was David again. And people were saying, I thought you'd gone mad, mate. I read you'd gone mad. You're the same David I used to know. And I was outwardly. Mm-hmm. But inwardly, everything had changed, and I could see things I didn't see before, and I could see what was going on behind the mirage that we're given to hide what's going on. And then my life just unfolded as this synchronistic adventure, walking into information, and the journey was pretty much as Betty Shine described it, and it continues to this day. I've looked at people that talk about spirituality, and they say, it's negative. You shouldn't be talking about this conspiracy. It's negative. And then they say people have to wake up. People have to wake up. Well, hold on a second. Why are they asleep? Why are they asleep? They're asleep because they've been put to sleep systematically. Yes. So if we're going to aid an awakening, then we have to look at what's suppressing that awakening as well as the awakening itself.
Exactly.
And I talked earlier about these two worlds, the human population world and the secret society world. And the aim of the secret society world, what I call the cult, because that's what it is to keep the population asleep. And fundamental to that, the very bottom line, is to sell us the lie of separation. This is why I talk so much about the label self and the phantom self. If you identify with your labels, you're identifying with limitation. And if you notice, what's happening is the label self is now being, again, systematically subdivided and subdivided and subdivided into smaller and smaller versions.
Yes.
of the label self. So you've got this long list of bloody letters now, because people can't just live their lives. They have to define who they are in terms of labels in the most fine detail. Mm-hmm. And my philosophy is, look, live your life as you want. I mean, my philosophy on life is do what you like so long as you don't impose it on anyone else. But why do you have to self-define yourself in such fine detail? Why do you have to define your sexuality in such fine detail? Because with every step down, to smaller and smaller labels, the perception of unity is and true self is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And the more labels you have and sub-labels you have, the more divide and rule opportunities you have to set the target population at war with itself. So we have to look, yes, at what you call the spiritual, the nature of reality, the nature of self.
Right.
But we also, at the same time, have to address the forces that are seeking to keep humanity asleep.
Exactly.
Because it's ever so simple. I've used this analogy before. If you have a tank of water and you have a ball, the natural state of that ball is to float on top of the water. That's its natural state.
Yes.
To put it in an unnatural state, you have to push it down to the bottom of the tank and you have to hold it there. Because the moment you let go, whoop, natural state's back.
Yes.
And it's like that. When you break it down and you break the perceptual manipulation down, we are being targeted 24/7 from multiple different means, not least fear, of course, is the big one, to hold us in terms of our true self on the bottom of that tank. Because if we self-identify not with the labels, they're just experiences, but with the consciousness that's having the experiences, suddenly we no longer are perceiving ourselves in limited terms, because we're saying, I am consciousness and I am all consciousness having an experience. And as you expand your self-identity and the nature of the I, so you are, by definition, expanding your the consciousness that you're accessing. So you're no longer in the myopia, what I call the bubble of human focus. You are in this world, yes, but you are not of this world in terms of all your perceptions and perspectives of reality. And what happens, and you're looking at the world, and what you can see is dots. You can see pixels, and they don't seem to fit, and it's all bewildering, and oh, it's such a mess, I don't understand it. And then as you do this, what happens is you start to see pictures instead of pixels. You see how they connect. Suddenly you see the world as it really is. And that's why they want to keep us here. And that's why the education system is as it is. It's programming operation. That's why the media is as it is, because it's real simple. If you want to control perception, control information received from which those perceptions are formed, and from those perceptions comes behavior. So control information, you control perception, you control behavior, and that's the whole deal of human control.